Welcome to the Collaborative Synergy podcast, where we bring together passionate, driven individuals to share their unique expertise, experience, and insight. I'm your host, Kendra Rouser, founder of Collaborative Synergy Consulting. At Collaborative Synergy Consulting, we believe in the power of collaboration to achieve extraordinary results. Each episode, we'll dive into engaging conversations with industry experts, thought leaders, and change makers who are dedicated to making a difference. From project management and business analysis to leadership coaching and team building, our guests will share their knowledge, skills, and stories to inspire and empower you. Join us as we explore a variety of topics, learn from the best, and discover new ways to harness the power of collaboration. When we come together, we create a synergy that amplifies our strengths and propels us towards success. So let's connect, learn, and grow. Welcome to Collaborative Synergy Podcast. Welcome, Noemi LaChapelle, to today's podcast. Noemi is the founder of the Brightside Group, and she's here to talk with us a little bit about Lean Six Sigma Green Belts. I'm so excited that you're here with us. Let's get started.
Thank you for inviting me. I am so glad to be here, and I'm so excited to share a little bit about Lean and Six Sigma with you because I get lots of questions about it.
I'm excited to learn more, and I took your class way back and learned so much. So I'm really excited for all the listeners to learn about what you've been up to since then and learn about Lean and how it might benefit them in the future. So before we get started, do you want to share a little bit about yourself and about your business with us?
Sure, yeah. Like you said, Noemi LaChapelle, I am the founder of the Brightside Group. So we're a little firm in Olympia, Washington, and we focus on business consulting in the realm of project management, lean process improvement, of course, that's why I'm here today, business analysis, and change management. My favorite part of it is doing Lean Six Sigma certification trainings. And we do those all virtually, so anybody can jump into those.
That's exciting. It's very cool that you're branching out and sharing your knowledge with everybody. Some of the listeners may not know what Lean is. Did you want to share a little bit about what Lean is?
Absolutely. So I've been doing Lean for such a long time, and almost every time I start to talk about Lean, I always get, well, what is that? What do you mean Lean? What does that look like? I don't know what you're talking about. So I'll break down kind of what it is for our awesome listeners here. So Lean Six Sigma is basically a process improvement methodology. And we can even break that down a little bit further. So we've got Lean, the Lean part of Six Sigma, which is about looking at processes and minimizing waste, errors, and delays with a high focus on the impact to your customers and adding value. Then we move over to the Six Sigma part of this, and this is where quality and consistency comes into play through improvement cycles. And that is where the DMAIC problem-solving methodology comes through. And I really love this methodology. It's what I teach and what we spend a lot of time on in Lean Six Sigma Green Belt class. And so you squish those two together and you've got Lean Six Sigma, which basically leverages the best problem-solving methods from both of those concepts and tools.
Cool. And I've heard when people do take these classes, they get something called a belt. Do you want to tell the listeners, what is this belt concept?
Oh my gosh, the belting system. Yes. So there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 belts that you can get through Lean Six Sigma certification. The first one is a Lean Six Sigma white belt. Typically, these sessions are about 3 hours, and they focus on just the foundations, just the basics, gives you enough information about Lean Six Sigma and the concepts so that you can decide, like, is this for me? Is this going to change my life? And it will be yes. And then there's the next one, which is Lean Six Sigma yellow belt. This one takes it one step further. Typically, the yellow belt is about 2 sessions, I think about 8 hours total. But the idea with the yellow belt is that you also get some practice in applying some of those improvement tools to a process or a problem that is totally impacted just within yourself. So say you want to improve your task management, then you do a little project there. Then We've got Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, which is my love. This is how I first got started, and we'll talk to you more about that later. But the Green Belt is really focused around that DMAIC methodology, which you'll see in White Belt and Yellow Belt. But in Green Belt, we do a deep dive, and it's a 5-week program. And this certification is really teaching people how to facilitate through process improvement workshops. So if you're a leader, if you're already a facilitator and you want to up your skills, like this is the course for you. So that's Green Belt. And then we have Lean Six Sigma Black Belt. And then that is basically everything else. Plus you get an enterprise look at how to apply these tools to enterprise level projects at a larger organization. You also get to practice like teach back. So if you were to teach these tools to somebody else, like what would that look like? What skills do you need? And you get to practice that. So that's a black belt. And then we move to master black belt. And so what I have found with master black belt is that it is highly statistical focused. So when we talked about that Six Sigma part and the number of defects and that consistency, the Lean Six Sigma master black belt is a highly statistical look at Six Sigma. So if you're into that and you like the math, then that's the course for you. But they do build upon each other. You can certainly jump over White Belt and Yellow Belt and go right into Green Belt. Green Belt covers the basics plus the new stuff. And then you do need a Green Belt or an equivalent for Black Belt, and then you would need a Black Belt or equivalent for a Master Black Belt. But I'm just going to answer the question that I get all the time, which is, do I have to have a belt to do lean stuff? And you're probably guessing the answer, and that's no, right? You don't have to have a certification to Google a tool or to practice lean concepts. I'm sure that anybody taking any of these courses will probably jump into a course and say, hey, I know that tool. I just didn't know what the name of it was, and I use it today. But what it does do is it provides you a container for learning, right? You get a coach, which sometimes is me, or another coach, depending on where you go. You get the classroom setting. You get to see other people who are learning the tools and applying it to real projects, and you get all that learning, and then you get this community of problem solvers that you can kind of grow with. The other thing is that the Lean Six Sigma certifications are globally known. So you get to put that on your resume and up your skill set a little bit.
5 belts, that's a lot of belts. And you have all 5, right?
I do. Well, so actually I just, so I didn't do the White Belt and Yellow Belt. I jumped right into Green Belt.
Oh, see, I'm different. I actually started with White Belt, and then I jumped over and took your Green Belt class and liked it, and then took your Yellow Belt class. I'm kind of taking them all out of sequence. Yeah. Working my way through the Black Belt now. And yeah, so you don't have to go in order, but it's probably helpful, I'm sure, to go in order if I would have known and done that. But that's exciting that you have all 5, that you offer all 5, and you have experience with all 5, so you know them all. So you've mentioned that you've taken all 5. Do you want to share a little bit about how did you get started? So with me, like I mentioned, I started with the White Belt. I actually went over to one of the local colleges, and I had been hearing about lean. I took some stuff online and thought, I want to go a little deeper. So I went into one of their classes, and then later at work had some opportunities. But what was your story? How did you get started, and what was your journey like?
Okay, so I actually love sharing my journey because I feel like it's relatable. So I was at a state agency in 2011, and I was working as a program specialist, and my role was to do earthquake and tsunami training up and down the coast of Washington. And I was very new to the role, had been in it for just a couple of years, and was invited to a process improvement workshop, a lean workshop. As a participant. And so I went to this workshop. I had no idea what it was. I didn't know why I was there. I didn't understand. But when we got in there, there was a couple of facilitators that led this team through improving a process. And we sat in the room for 3 days. We did a Gemba walk, which means like go to where the work is happening, watch the work, reflect on it, document it. We came back to the room, we process mapped, we looked at all the problems with the process, then we came up with a bunch of ideas. And then when we were done at the end of the 3 days, we had this action plan that we all implemented. And from that experience alone, I was like, this is how my brain works. This is how I think. This is who I am. I want to do this too. And so I hooked up with the facilitators and was like, how can I get a green belt? I want to do what you're doing. So that's when I got my green belt, was in 2011. And it was through like the Air Force at the time. And it was also very statistical. It was kind of a hard course, but so I finished that. And then what I ended up doing was coming back to my program specialist role. And even though I wasn't facilitating workshops in that role, I was using all the tools within my little tiny team to improve our team processes. So I was facilitating at like a team level versus expanding across units. And so I loved it so much and kept applying it to my work that I thought, I really want to do this full time now. And I see some positions out there. So I started to just apply for positions to do it full time and ended up at another state agency doing, I think the role is called the Lean Capacity Development Manager. And in that role was facilitating workshops and training other facilitators full time. And it was like my most favorite job on the planet. Had the best time there. Was there for like 6 years, and I actually got my green belt a second time through a local university in Washington, and it was entirely different than the first time I took green belt. The first one was a little statistical, lots of charts and Excel sheets, and then I took it again, and it was more focused on like people and experience and easier tools, more relatable tools. And that's where I feel like I really got like the people side of lean versus like the heavy statistical tools. And that's the part that I really loved. And so what I think is cool about taking that class twice is that I get to borrow from those experiences and turn and create a green belt class that's got kind of the best of both worlds from my perspective, of course. Um, and then I also got my black belt there in that role, and then was eventually promoted to the administrator for that program. And then we added in like some formal change management and then project management. And then what happened in about 2019, I had been doing lean full time. I thought, all right, I'm ready to do something different. I want to like just take a step out there. And so for this entire time, I was in state agencies, so government work, service type stuff. So then I thought, well, what if I tried healthcare out? Like, will all of these tools still work? So I found a role. It was with a national nonprofit, and I took a role as a quality improvement advisor, and we were helping healthcare centers offer same-day access to birth control. And I was able to use all of my tools, even though I wasn't in a lean capacity role. I was still able to go into healthcare centers, evaluate their processes, do assessments, and I was still going through that DMAIC process that I had learned all those years ago, and I was still applying it. And from there, I was promoted so that I could teach other consultants there how to do the same thing, which was super cool. And so what I think is awesome is that these tools that are in these classes or in the Lean Six Sigma family are so transferable no matter where you work. So healthcare, IT, I mean, you've got agile, right? You know all about that. And so that's what I love about it. It's just so transferable. And then I decided, gosh, I just want to go out and do this on my own. I'm still loving all my lean tools. That's where my soul lives. And so I started the Brightside Group in 2023. And we focus on, like I mentioned in my intro, business consulting, but I really, really am focused on giving these tools back. And what you'll notice about my classes and the cost is that I try to make them as accessible as possible. Because when I first started and was thinking about taking other classes, sometimes it was a little out of my budget, right? And so one of the things that I'm trying to do is make this journey like mine that I just told you about more accessible to other people, because it was life-changing for me to be able to learn it that early and then apply it through my career all the way through today, now that I'm a business owner and founder at the Brightside Group.
So you mentioned that there are a lot of tools in Lean Six Sigma. Do you have a favorite tool that you'd like to share with the listeners?
I do have a favorite tool, and it's actually a tool that I use probably in 80% of my work even today, and it is process mapping and value stream mapping. So in Lean Six Sigma White Belt, you'll be introduced to process mapping, and that is like the basics. Uh, Green Belt class, you'll jump into value stream mapping. But what's so cool about it, if you don't know what it is that it's a way to visualize your work. So imagine your like morning process of getting up and getting ready all the way to getting into your car and going to work, and documenting your process step by step on some sticky notes, and identifying where you're running into when you ask a question. So for example, your first step might be you hear the alarm, and what do you do? Do you hit snooze? Do you turn it off? Do you go back to sleep? Whatever that is, and adding some little decisions in there. But I think the what I like about it is that it gives you the whole picture of kind of what your morning would look like, and then transfer that into like your work process, right? So imagine you're mapping out an application. And your first step is to fill out the application. Second step is to review the application. And you might be asking a question if there are any errors on this application. And so if you do that for your entire process, you get the whole picture of what your process looks like. You can see where there is waste in your process. You can see where there are bottlenecks, where things need to be maybe moved around, maybe you're duplicating steps. It just gives you the whole picture of what is happening. You also get to see like roles and responsibilities in this. It is my most favorite tool, but my like number one customer requested as a consultant tool that I get asked to do a lot. And so I've probably mapped over 300 processes. My favorite tool, so I'm glad that people ask me to do it because I like doing it.
300. Wow, that's a lot. I know on the few that I have done, there was one that I did after I took your class many years ago, but so it's not fresh in my mind, but I do remember being in the room and mapping it out, and just it was like this forever long sheet of white paper all around the room with stickies, and we laid out their current state, and then we were able to go back and kind of look for where those pain points were in that current state. But I think the funny part is one of my absolute favorite things about doing that was all the sticky notes and the color coded meanings behind them. Oh my goodness, it was silly, but it was really, really fun. And I think one of the best compliments I got from that was, wow, Kendra, you are like really in your zone. I was just having such a blast. And I have done a few since then, not 300, but a few. And it is so fun. So that's a really good one, a good tool that you shared. And I'm sure that that would be a fun one to do in your class if I was taking your class again.
It is a good one. It is like a work of art when you're done to
It
see the
is.
whole
It is.
picture. Yeah.
Yes, we took pictures. We took pictures of it. I remember seeing the pictures too. We just used so many tools on that particular one, and we had such a good group. They really got into it, and they did find some really good opportunities to improve their process, and it was a value add. So that was a good experience and a good memory for me. I'm glad you have that as your favorite tool. So it kind of brought back that memory.
Yeah, it's a good one. I had a one class where what not a class, a process mapping session where one of the team members brought in their procedures, and they said, "We don't need to map it out. I have the procedures right here. This is how we do it." And so what was so funny and what was so key to that was like, I don't need to know or we don't want to document the procedures. We want to know what's actually happening every day. So, how many times have you skipped a step, or how many times has there been a step that you couldn't do because you didn't have the right tools or information, or you were waiting? Like that's what we want to map out.
It's interesting that you said that, because I remember that same event, and we had people from multiple offices that did the front counter kind of work that we were looking at, and the financial pieces of that we were looking at. And they came in thinking they were doing it the same way. I mean, they had procedures. Everybody knew the procedures. They knew where they were. They were thinking they were doing it the same way. But as we mapped it out, we quickly realized there was some differences in the process that really needed to be looked at a deeper level. And we found that there were some assumptions made that certain things had to be done a certain way, even though it was not documented necessarily that you had to do that. And it saved time once they realized, like, I don't have to do this. I don't know why I was doing it. I guess that's just what I learned, and I just kept doing it that way. And so you're right. Just taking that document and going through it wouldn't have been value added, but sitting down with both groups and having them explain
Mm-hmm.
kind of that Gemba walk feel of like, just walk me through what you do in the
Yeah.
morning, go in and what time they pick things up and who does it get handed off to. And then having the other group that they hand off to there so that they can say, here's what I need. And by this time and in this way, and then it allowed them to reassess, like, do I actually have to take that extra step? Where did that step even come from? Maybe it's not value added at all. Right?
Yes, yes. And my favorite part is like the light bulb moment when you have two teams come in, you map one process, and then the other
Yes.
team is like, wait a minute, we do those
Yes.
exact steps too. We're duplicating tasks here. So
Yes.
that's one of my favorites that will kind of come up a lot. And I'm like,
Yeah.
aha, we got you. Now what are we gonna do about it?
Do the duplication or the like, oh, you do that? We don't do that. And they're like, wait, what do you
Mm,
do?
uh-huh. Yes.
Yes.
Good stuff. That's why it's my favorite. There's so many like light bulb moments and opportunities to just see
Yeah.
what's really happening and make it better.
Yeah. That's a really fun tool. I like that one. Glad you shared it. So you mentioned that you offer Lean Six Sigma courses. Do you want to give us a little overview of what would be included or what's entailed in your Greenbelt class?
Yeah. So Lean Six Sigma Greenbelt class is a 5-week program. It used to be 4, but I was getting feedback from students that were there like, it's not enough time. We want one more week with you. So the next cohort gets an extra week with me. And what's cool about it is we meet, it's typically Mondays for 4 hours, and they get some lecture, they get some practice in class. And then we do that for the 5 weeks. And we're moving through kind of lean basics, lean concepts the first day, and some change management. Because I think when you're jumping into process improvement, you've got to be able to deal with the people side too. So I get them prepped with some change management in the beginning. Then we run through and go do a deep dive through all of the DMAIC phases all the following weeks until we get to the end. And then we wrap it up with some like daily lean practices. So think of like visual management or task management. And then I do another module on change management. So we kind of open with change management and close with change management because I'm anticipating people walking out of class with these action plans, and you need people to do them, right? So you have to have change management. What's key to the Greenbelt class, though, is that everyone must bring a project to work on. So it's got to be a real project, not a made-up one. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. And it's so cool to have a real example. So what most students do is they bring a project from like their work life. One of the recent ones was customer intake process, and it could be very small in scope. And in fact, I kind of prefer it to be very tightly scoped for Greenbelt. One of the things I always say is that we use the project to learn on. We're not looking for perfection. I just want to see that you can use the tools and practice them. So there's no grade on like how much time you saved in the process. What I'm looking for is like how people are using the tools, where they're getting stuck. And I've said, even if you use the tool and it falls flat and it doesn't work, cool, that's great. You use the tool. Now you know not to use it for that scenario, right? So it's very interactive. I offer coaching on the side. So if someone gets stuck in their project, they can send me an email and we'll jump on a call and kind of figure out where they're at.
What if somebody's feeling a little anxious about facilitating? What do you offer as far as helping them to be a better facilitator?
Good point. Yes. So throughout all of the modules, I approach the tools with here is the tool. Here's what the goal is of the tool. And then I say, okay, now here's how to facilitate this tool. Because I have been through, and I'll take like the pick chart as an example. When I first started facilitating, the pick chart was like the hardest tool to A, facilitate, and B, for your team members to understand just what the heck are you trying to do, right? And so you use a pick chart to prioritize ideas. And so what I think is cool is that I've done so many workshops, process improvement workshops, that I've been able to work on like the exact questions to ask the group and the exact way to explain the tool that's simple for the learners to understand just what is going on, because they don't need to learn how to run the tool. They just need to know why you're doing it. So in each of the modules and for the tools, I talk about what the goal is how to use it, and then how to talk about it.
So it sounds like lean is like a project, right? It sounds like it's something where you're going to have a beginning and an end. You're going to start with change management, you mentioned, and you're going to end with change management. What do you teach the participants in regards to project management fundamentals?
Yeah, so I think project management, change management, Lean Six Sigma all work so perfectly together. You'll have a project that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. You have Lean Six Sigma with process improvements that basically turn into a project. And then you've got change management that helps you implement all of that hard work that you've just done. In the class, we focus on not just Lean Six Sigma concepts, but we also focus on that project management stuff. So starting with a charter, having sponsors. So we're going to talk about roles and responsibilities. We'll talk about documentation. We'll talk about executing. We'll talk about creating an action plan. And then from that change management side, I'm also going to talk to you about creating or identifying impacted groups, which is so important. So as you're moving through your process improvement journey and project, you're identifying all those people that are impacted because they are going to need to know what the new thing is, how to do it, when to do it, why we're doing it, all of the things. And so you'll be able to learn all of those pieces. And what I think what's super cool about this course and that people have to remind me of because I forget about it, but I also offer all the templates. So everything that I'm using in my projects today, I give to everybody, and we have not a Dropbox, but like a SharePoint folder. I dump all the tools. So each week you get a whole bunch of new templates and tools, and you get to keep them and use them. And the only way to get them is to come to class. So
It's a good incentive to come to class. I get some
there
new
you
tools.
go.
Yeah, I love tools in my toolbox. So if I was to take your class and maybe I'm new to lean and I'm learning so much out of this podcast, what would be some examples of real world applications so I can kind of process
Yeah.
through what I might do with it after I leave your class?
Yeah, so we've got Lean Six Sigma White Belt and Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, and we'll focus on Green Belt. What I will say about White Belt is that if you take White Belt, it's fully focused on applying the tools and methodologies to your own daily work. So you'll learn things about like how to manage your tasks with the Kanban board. You'll learn about identifying waste in your processes. And then when you move to Greenbelt, I think the top tools that you're going to be able to apply immediately are going to be like that facilitation skill set because you can use that in any meeting that you go to. How many of us have been to a meeting and you're like, why are we here? Uh, Facilitation is going to help you get there. I talk a lot about how to structure a meeting, how to structure a workshop. One of the key things is the define phase in DMAIC. So you are going to be able to pause any confusion in a meeting with asking, what is the problem we are trying to solve? Which is so key and so amazing. It kind of shifts everything. One student in one of my classes had said that her key tool that she used immediately was process mapping. Again, process mapping, favorite tool, not just me. And she was able to process map one of her processes that crossed a lot of teams. She didn't do it in a workshop, or she mapped it herself, took it to a leadership meeting, and just being able to provide that visual to leadership, she was able to present a proposed change, and they were able to have really good conversation in that meeting and then get a little bit closer to a yes. So it helps with decision making. So those are kind of I think that was like 3 things, but there's so much in there. Lots of good stuff. Those are just a few.
So what inspired you to teach this class? What do you find most rewarding about it?
Yeah, so I've been using Lean tools and teaching since about just 2013, 2014. Um, and throughout my career, I have used these tools in all of my projects and never fails. I always get somebody saying, how did you do that? Where did you learn that? Can you show me how to do that? Do you teach classes on this? And I would say for years, because I'm an introvert, like I get super nervous and nope, I'm not going to teach. Nope, I'm not going to teach again. I'm not going to teach again. I'm not going to teach again. So finally, I had like a client approach me and say, hey, we would really like a Lean Six Sigma white belt class. with your expertise, we would really like you to teach it. And so that kicked off my consulting firm and made me just jump in and get back into it. And so that's how I got kicked back off. I mean, I was doing it with state agencies, but it wasn't mine, right? I didn't have to develop it from scratch. So what really kicked me off was somebody recognizing that I had the expertise and wanting me to be the instructor. So then that encouraged me to spend the time and to develop my own classes. And so people get kind of the best of everything that I've learned over the years. I teach only the tools that I know work, and there's tons out there. And so I first started with white belt, and then people took my white belt class and they're like, "You're doing green belt now, right?" I said, "Oh, okay, fine." So spent the time developing that, and then you're probably guessing folks in green belt class said, "You're doing black belt now, right?" And I said, okay, fine." So we've got black belt kicking off in the fall this year. So here we go.
That's exciting. Your newest release, and we get to hear first.
Yes. Yes.
For those interested in learning more about the Lean Six Sigma Green Belt class certification, or any of them for that matter that are on your website, where can they go to find out more about the next session and when it's available and get more information?
Yeah. So they can go to the website. It's www.thebrightsidehq, like headquarters, .com. We're also on LinkedIn, on Facebook, so you can just search for The Bright Side. I am also on Instagram, but I'm on Instagram under at the Problem Solving Latina. Yeah, so I'm on all the things. So come find me, check out the classes, and happy to connect anytime.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us today. I bet our listeners found a wealth of knowledge in all of that discussion and are hopefully very excited to sign up soon for some of the classes that you offer and get their green belt and learn how exciting using the tools that you teach and the templates that you provide can be. Sitting in class with you is always fun. I enjoyed taking class from you many years ago. I would love to take classes with you again sometime. And hopefully we'll get a chance to team up on something in the future. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite. This was super fun.